Welcome to the Prime Podcast. This is our 17th episode, and we're talking the week against electronics technology news. I have a few less articles than usual, but I have some good stuff to talk about, including Apple and how they might not be using Intel processors in the near future. They could opt for lower cost, more energy efficient ARM processors like they use in their iPads and iPhones. I also have an article on a potential 7-inch Xbox Surface tablet. And then I'll wrap it up by talking about Google and how they think that tablets were very overpriced and underpowered before they launched the Nexus 10 earlier last month. So let's go and get started with our first article, which is Apple and how they plan to potentially move away from Intel. So many years ago, if you don't already know, Apple used their own PowerPC processors to power their Macs. But a while back in 2006, Apple actually made a big switch over to Intel processors, which would be cheaper, faster, and more compatible with other platforms like Windows. And right now, Apple still uses the same Intel processors in all their computers. And right now, it seems like a good idea. They're cheap, they're fast, same thing you find on a Windows computer, and they've gotten the job done for Apple. But as we are kind of moving more towards more portable devices, we saw this year that Apple launched the Retina MacBook Pros, which are thinner, lighter than previous ones, no optical drive. Maybe the next step is just going to be no Intel altogether and just plain ARM processors, just like you would find on a tablet. That's something that's kind of happening right now. The world of computer and tablets are kind of merged into one big thing. And according to reports, Apple's actually going to switch over to ARM processors in some future Macs. So in other words, Apple's going to do what Google did very recently. If you don't remember, Google launched the Samsung Chromebook, and originally the Samsung Chromebook sold for around $500, and it was a pretty decent device. It had an Intel processor, which was put inside of a decently sized machine with decent battery life, but it cost $500. That's kind of the same price as like an average Windows notebook computer. And earlier this month or last month, Google actually launched the $250 new Samsung Chromebook, and it is powered by an ARM processor. Samsung built one, the Exynos 5 Dual, and it's a lot faster than the Intel processor. It also is more energy efficient, smaller, lighter. So that essentially means that Google can keep the same amount of battery life while having a much thinner device that is more portable, more lightweight. And another cool thing about it is there's no fans or no moving parts at all in this thing. So essentially, it's silent. It doesn't produce much heat at all. And I think that's really something cool that we can do with ARM that we can't really do with Intel that still requires these heat sinks and everything like that. But of course, Intel is kind of moving more towards this kind of more energy efficient kind of stuff, since they are working to make smartphones. And I think they did with the Motorola Droid Razr I or Droid Razr Max I or something like that. But Intel is also kind of jumping onto this more sort of ARM kind of architecture. It's not ARM, but it's more like Intel, but more energy efficient Intel. And if you didn't already know, ARM processors are essentially what is inside most of the current smartphones and tablets. And Microsoft was criticized last month for launching the Windows 8 operating system, which is more for tablets and less for computers, even though it is kind of like a operating system for everything. The RT version of Windows 8 is one that only supports ARM processors that's specifically for tablets. And with the Windows 8 launch, Microsoft also launched the Surface RT, which was the very first Windows RT device. And while current ARM processors aren't quite as fast as the current Intel processors, but they are getting faster and faster, so we might reach a point when Intel processors and ARM processors might be like neck and neck when it comes to performance. And at that time, I think a lot of these companies might just switch over to ARM, although Intel might also really just be working to make sure that doesn't happen, because if that happens, they're pretty much out of business, other than things like maybe servers that could last a little bit longer, although servers are still kind of moving to ARM. That's something that's happened across the board. But in the past 10 years, we've only seen movement of smaller devices. At one point, we primarily used desktop computers, but we eventually moved towards laptops. And then more recently, we actually moved to ultrabooks and netbooks. So we've just kind of moved away from the large desktop computers. And before that, we actually had huge computers that took up the whole room. Now we're using ultrabooks, netbooks are very small and very portable. We We also have tablets, and we are starting to see these devices that kind of bridge the gap between ultrabooks and tablets, and those are very interesting devices. And they could, in the near future, lead to what's going to be the future probably computing devices. There's going to be more tablets and less computers. And actually, Apple has already prepared this shift, having both iOS and OS X run on the same ARM processors would allow Apple to more easily port software between the two platforms. So if Angry Birds is developed for the iPad, it would work on the Mac without having to worry about any porting issues or any software development updates or anything like that. It would just work straight out of the box as long as everything's all set up with the screen resolutions and everything like that. But a unified experience is really what Apple, Google, and Microsoft are working towards when it comes to these sort of post-PC devices that are sort of turned into PCs themselves, or it is what PCs are turning into. So that's very interesting stuff there. Let's move on to what Microsoft is doing, not really with post-PC, but more post-console. This is actually an article on the Microsoft potentially launching a 7-inch Xbox Surface tablet. So with Windows 8, Windows Phone 8, and the next generation Xbox, Microsoft is looking to have a very unified experience. All three platforms feature the same sort of Metro modern user interface based on tiles that you can touch, to easily interact with. They have live information on them, like weather, everything like that. And they're very easy to use, very pretty looking, and it's just a really good sort of experience when it comes to Metro, and is across all these Microsoft devices. And one of those features that could be coming to all these devices, other than like apps and those kind of things, is eventually gaming. There are reports that Microsoft has planned to launch a 7-inch Xbox Surface tablet. Essentially, the Xbox Surface would be another tablet computer designed primarily for gaming. It would feature a custom ARM processor, plenty of fast RAM, and overall just specifications designed for gaming. Like it'll have a more gaming-oriented ARM processor. It might have really good graphics inside of there, maybe just kind of standard computing like processor inside of it, but it have good graphics. So think of it like an AMD APU, but smaller, but ARM for tablets and stuff. But the Xbox Surface would run a version of Windows 8 RT, but again, it would be designed for gaming. It'd probably have like the normal App Store, but it would have like either a category in the App Store for gaming or just a whole different gaming App Store. And the gaming App Store could also be ported to like Windows desktop computers, the Xbox, maybe even Windows Phone. It could just have like overall gaming, like Xbox Live or maybe like Windows Live or something like that. That already exists, but just something that's more unified than Xbox Live that makes you think it's only on the Xbox 360, not on all these devices. Because actually it is on all these devices. There's Xbox gaming for Windows phones, and there's Xbox gaming now for Windows 8. So I think Microsoft's really working to have games that work on all three platforms, people that can play on all three platforms together, and things like that. And that would be really, really great if Microsoft does get this all working. It would also be interesting to see what kind of games Microsoft offers, since if you're familiar with current sort of handheld consoles, like the PlayStation Vita, you probably realize that these devices, they run a custom version of each game designed specifically for the Vita. So I don't have a Vita now, but I had a PlayStation Portable a while back, and it kind of sucked in some ways because some games, like Midnight Club Los Angeles, for example, there was the version of that game for the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. That was a full version of the game. Had great graphics for the time, and a large map, lots of cars, lots of customization options. And for the PlayStation Portable, there was Midnight Club Los Angeles, but it was a specific version just specifically for this sort of PSP, and it was a good game. But the map was different, the cars were different, the customization was different, the story was different, pretty much everything was different. It was more like just the previous game from the PlayStation 2, so that's kind of what these handheld consoles are like right now. The PlayStation Vita right now is very similar to the PS3 as far as gaming goes, but when the PS4 comes out, that's not going to really be the case because the Vita is going to be outdated, and it's just not going to be all that great. Hopefully this Xbox Surface will actually be able to run the same games that are on the Xbox and on the Windows PC. And if Microsoft does pull that off, they're going to really have a great advantage that Nintendo doesn't have with their DS, and Sony doesn't have with their Vita. And one way they could potentially do this is using certain cloud platforms like OnLive. They could buy OnLive or something like that and use OnLive, or they could come up with their own service and they could stream games from the internet to these devices. And that would be the same game, they could have the same saves, they could have the same everything, and it could all be for like a monthly fee of like $10 a month to get access to all the games. Like if you buy something like Spotify or Amazon Prime or Netflix, you spend like $6 a month, $10 a month. You get all the music you want. You get all the movies you want. You want all the free. You get all the books and free shipping you want, and things like that are really, in a way, maybe potentially the future of the Xbox when it comes to the Xbox 720, whatever it's going to be called. I think Xbox 8 would be kind of be a good name because it kind of matches Xbox 8, Windows Phone 8, Windows 8, kind of just 8 across the board. But we'll have to wait and see. This next generation Xbox will arrive next year. It should, and it should arrive with Sony. Sony's gonna have their own console too, and it's gonna be the PlayStation 4. And with Nintendo, they're actually launching the Wii U. Like right now, I think it might be available, might be coming like next week. But the Wii U is coming out very soon, and that's just gonna be the next generation of consoles. So that'll be very interesting. And of course, if you're on PC right now, nothing new because PC games, you can get a new graphics card every year pretty much, and you'll be able to play any game you want, and game graphics will be a lot better and everything like that. So each platform is updated constantly on the PC, but these consoles, they get updated every like 6 years, and it takes a while for them to get updated. So it's pretty interesting to see what these companies do over the 6 years with their devices. So let's go and move on to our last article, which relates to Google and their Nexus line of products. Oops, skip that. But about a week ago, Google announced their new lineup of Nexus devices, which includes the smaller 4.7-inch Nexus 4, the medium-sized 7-inch Nexus 7, and then the larger 10-inch Nexus 10. All three devices come with different versions, like the Nexus 7 comes in, the smaller Nexus 4 comes in 8 and 16 gigabyte models. And then there's the Nexus 7 that comes in 16 gigabyte or 32 gigabyte models, or even a 32 gigabyte plus mobile version that allows you to use 3G and HSPF Plus networks. The larger 10-inch model, the Nexus 10, comes in a 16 gigabyte and 32 gigabyte model. So each model costs a little bit different, but one interesting thing about this is that all these products are priced incredibly competitive. The most expensive out of these products is the Nexus 10 that only costs $500. That's a maxed out 32 gigabyte model. So across the board, Google's selling these Nexus devices at pretty good price points. The Nexus 4 costs half the usual price of an unlocked phone, like the iPhone, for example, costs like $600, $700 unlocked. Well, this Nexus 4 is an unlocked phone for $300, and that's a pretty good deal, especially if you want to get a new phone, you want to ditch your carrier, you don't want to have to worry about these cancellation fees or a contract or anything like that. You can just buy the phone and ditch it or keep it whenever you want. Even the Nexus 10 is actually a pretty good price. It costs $100 less than the iPad, and same with the Nexus 7. It costs $130 less than the 7-inch iPad mini, which is like the same version. So across the board, Google's very, very competitive, and a recent interview between Google's Director of Business Development for Android and the New York Times, Google shared how previous 10-inch tablets were overpriced and underpowered. He wanted to see what we could do. That's a quote from him. And so in other words, Google purposely went out there into the tablet market with a really, really cheap and really, really high-end 10-inch tablet to compete directly with the iPad, directly with every other 10-inch tablet out there. And I guess Google didn't really want to make another Motorola Zoom. If you don't remember, back in like 2010, I think, at CES, Google launched the very first Android 3.0 Honeycomb tablet, the Motorola Zoom. It was kind of a Nexus device, not really, but it was a Motorola Zoom. It costed nearly $1,000, and that was on a contract with Verizon, so you had to pay for LTE data. It was also one of the first LTE devices that had terrible battery life. LTE was in many areas, and it actually didn't even ship with LTE. It had it was very modular design. You could take off the back, and that's how you upgraded it to LTE. You sent it back to Motorola like 6 months after it launched, and then they put in the LTE radio, sent it back for free, I think. But after like a month or something, it costed money. So it was kind of really a big mess when it comes to the Motorola Zoom. It cost a lot of money. It didn't sell well. And was slow too. It was Android 3.0 Honeycomb. Like virtually all Honeycomb tablets were kind of laggy here and there, and just didn't work very well. So the Motorola Zoom was really a failed device. Costed too much money. didn't work very well, slow, sluggish. Well, this Nexus 10, Google's planning to fix both of those things. It's very cheap, $400, and it's very fast. It has one of the fastest processors ever, a huge resolution, 2560 by 1600. That's something you see on like 27-inch computer monitors right there. So that just shows you how impressive that is. And Samsung had to find the best hardware to put into it to make it do that. So really, Google is doing as much as they can to rival and sometimes even go beyond what the iPad does. So yeah, the Nexus 10, Nexus 7, and Nexus 4 are all three great Nexus devices this year that are really competing with Apple, what Apple does, and what everyone else does. Since even these other Android tablets are 10 inches, still cost like $500, and this $400 tablet performs better, looks better, is faster, bigger, or it's just overall a better device for less money. So Google really knows what they're doing right there. But that's about it for this podcast. You can check out theprime.co, that's our blog. We update it daily, so you can come back every day of the week and see what we were writing about. Everything we talked about today is on theprime.co, and so you can check it out there. There are links in the description below to go there. And I also have this YouTube channel. It's also called theprime.co. You can subscribe to this YouTube channel. I upload 2 videos a week. On Saturdays, I upload videos just like this podcast. I talk about the week in electronics and technology news, stuff like I did right just over the past 20 minutes. And I also I do videos on Sundays. And on Sundays, I upload a video which is more of a gaming video if you're into gaming. Because we did talk about the Xbox Microsoft potentially launching a 7-inch Xbox Surface tablet. That's something there. And currently I'm doing videos kind of between a bunch of series. I did Minecraft a while back. I'll do that again later in the future, probably when the server I use is updated 1.4. I'll probably do videos then. You can check out that server, by the way. It's redhello.com. You can get whitelisted. It's a good server. And on Sundays I actually upload other videos too, like Saints Row, the series I started, and I have like tons of videos in that queue. We're going through the campaign with my brother Colin. You can find him at colin.quaid.co. And then currently I'm actually doing another game, Need for Speed Most Wanted. It recently launched. I did a video last week about it, doing a video tomorrow about it. So you can check that out. Need for Speed Most Wanted. I actually beat the game pretty quickly, less than a week it took me to beat it. But I have a good like 6 or 7 videos of that game coming up. After that, I also have Need for Speed Carbon. So I have another 6 or 7 hours of that recorded up, so you can stay tuned for that. And that'll probably be coming after the Most Wanted stuff, which could potentially be next year. So I have tons of gaming videos coming. If you want to see any games, just let me know. I can kind of potentially just stop a video for a week. Like if you want to see like Minecraft 1.4, I can stop doing Need for Speed Most Wanted for a week, put that Minecraft video up, and then move on back to Need for Speed Most Wanted. So just comment what you like, what you don't like, and check out theprime.co. And you can subscribe for more videos that I'll upload weekly, and that's about it.